In today's video, we're gonna show you guys a run we've been scouting for quite a while now here that I call Run to the River. Hey guys, hello, we keep it dirty off-road. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to go back into a run that we've been scouting for a while. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys a couple clips from the scoutings that we've done so far. We've done it over 2-3 trips. Now, before we start any run, we actually like to do checks on the truck, kind of like a prep. Not a full prep like most shops do, but we like to do a prep. We'll go through, do a bolt checks, make sure all the torque marks look good. We'll do some weld checks, especially in the front suspension, make sure everything looks okay. The truck just hit 50,000 miles. Yeah, I know, it's just a baby, 50,000 miles. So we changed the oil and put a new food motor valve in there to make oil changes easier. Unfortunately, though, while we were doing the checks, we did find something.
What are you doing? Why are you doing that? Oh! What is up with you?
We ended up finding a torn CV boot. Now, this is fairly normal with built-up trucks. Mid-travel trucks, trucks that are running like geysers. Anything that really elevates that suspension travel and basically increases your suspension travel is going to create more movement on that front suspension. And all that extra movement makes the rubber on the CV axles touch more, and that touching, it causes them to wear out easy. Now, we expected this. We went through it when we were running geysers, so we consider it part of our maintenance, especially with the mid-travel truck. So for us, we just keep an eye on it, and it's part of our maintenance. So we took out the axle, called over the guys at HM, and Kevin luckily had a spare boot that we could use when they came off of one of the CVs that he had, and he got us in quick. He let us know what the correct grease was, and he got us swapped out pretty quick, and we were able to get that back on and get back on the trails the next day. Now back to the run. Now this is a run that I've been scouting for quite a long time now. You're gonna see a mix of clips here. You're gonna see some clips from about a year or so ago when I still had my 2020. Towards the end of when we had that truck, when I took it back down to 35s because we were having so many issues. More recently, we took the Gen 1 out this summer. If you guys ever want to join us on a run, all my runs are open to all my followers. You just have to follow us on Instagram. All of our run announcements are done there. I usually post on Wednesdays. Everybody's welcome to join the runs. Doesn't matter on experience level or your rig. Just depending on the run, I'll put out some requirements, right? Usually it's like VHF radio or lead nav and stuff like that. Most of my runs are two-wheel drive friendly, other rig friendly. You don't have to have a Raptor to come out. If the trails are pretty rough or we're going to be running crazy, I'll let you guys know so you guys can know ahead of time. But if you want to join, make sure you guys follow us on Instagram. Now this run, it's been a combination of 3 runs all together and 3 runs where we went through and scouted trails. The first time, a friend of ours, Chad Goodrich, actually showed us the trails, showed us some of the area, and then I went back with a couple of my regulars to try to find another path through that area so that we're not repeating trails. For this run, we had 3 of the guys that have helped me for a very long time. We had Top Gun, Sean, you need to get a truck, Sean, so you can get back out there with us, and Victor. These guys are regulars. They've been helping me do runs for a couple years now. Solid dudes, and we didn't have to do a driver's meeting, so once we all got there, we went ahead and hit the trails right away. Now, this run's a little bit different because of where we're at. It does start off with the trails being a little bit rough, but it quickly turns into nice flat sections of trails, rolling hills and stuff like that. Perfect for Raptors, perfect for any vehicle, honestly. There's really no section of this trail that most other vehicles could do. Our first stop was some tanks. Now, while these are not World War II tanks, this whole section of the Mojave is full of World War II history. A lot of tank crews, a lot of pilots. We're trained around here. Quite a bit of bases and stuff like that set up all over the Mojave specifically for World War II training. There's even a large iron ore mine out there that was specifically just for World War II, and its primary production all went to the war effort. Now, after the tanks, I struggled for a little bit to find a good trail across a couple of trips. We ran a few options going through the aqueducts that go through that area, and unfortunately, they're way too flat and boring. I like some turns, I like some some elevation changes, and the alley aqueduct trails are just too boring. We did try to find something closer to the highway, but we had very inconsistent trails on that side. There was this one section that was wash after wash after wash for a couple of miles that was just unbearable and it wasn't fun. There was other sections that were really fun where it was a combination of power line roads, changing scenery that were pretty cool, but then some of them ran into some muddy lake beds and stuff like that. So the trails were very inconsistent, and I was having a hard time trying to find a nice fun path on this side of the run. I knew my route back was going to be fun, but I usually try to avoid overlapping the trail, right? I want to make sure that we're going through new trails the whole way when I do a loop, but in this trip it looked like that wasn't going to happen. Now this trip was also one of the main reasons that a deciding factor to get rid of the Gen 2. We had just put it back to 35s to see if the 37s were the cause of the problem, and after just a few hours on the trails, my steering was all out of whack. It was to one side, and then by the end of the day it was to the other side, and then just the steering rack just kept destroying itself. It was in its zero position with caster camber locks. It made no sense that my steering was moving the way it was, and it's one of the deciding factors why we considered doing lemon law buyback and all that stuff, because it was getting annoying, all the issues we had with that Gen 2 truck. Back to the run. My original route plan actually had the midway point kind of stopping at an abandoned airfield that's out there in the middle of nowhere. This airfield was used to train pilots for World War II. Its sole purpose was that, and as shortly after the war it was closed down. We featured these places before on the channel. I'll put a link to the video, but we featured this place before on the channel, and unfortunately since then more people have come out to this place and destroyed it. When we first went out, a hangar was burnt down shortly before we showed up, a few months before. From the time we were there last to this time, which was I think it was like 6 months, somebody burnt down the tower. The tower was the most interesting building there, and it was completely burnt to the ground. Well, this was that cool ass tower, just like the hangar out here, and burned it down. Very frustrating to see places like this destroyed, man. It don't take much. Look at that. There used to be that, remember when we had that really cool view out of the room over there? Most of the barracks are left. That hangar's gone, and that hangar over there is gone. Only one little hangar's left, test facilities, and part of the barracks. Fucking shame. Sucks to see it all gone. Remember we were in this little room right here. We were chilling out here last time we were out here. This is one of the reasons why I don't share map locations. So if you guys ever ask, I'll never share my maps unless you're on a run with me and you have to be there the day up. I firmly believe that if you don't spend the time to really research a place and find it, you're not going to respect it, and that's what happens with places like this. Somebody will give out the location of a place like this, everybody rushes to it and destroys it. And abandoned places are so vulnerable. All it takes is an ash, an ember from an ash, and that's it, destroyed. And that's what happened here. Next, we headed over to the river, the Colorado River. First time we were out here, we went out there during the winter, so it was a little cold, so we didn't get a chance to really dip in the, but this place is beautiful. Regardless of the temperature outside, the place is beautiful. We went back recently with the Gen 1 in the summer, and it was nice. We invited a few people to join us on this run because we actually had a little bit better plan. I wanted to test how the pacing would go and all that stuff. We took out a lot of the bad areas on the trail, and we really want to have some fun. We actually put the run announcement on our Instagram, and you guys had the opportunity to join if you joined. So we had a lot of new people join us on that run. This time, though, we decided to spend a little bit of extra time in the river. It was summer, it was hot, the river temperatures were perfect. But if you notice, as we're coming in, if you look at the clips from when we were there beforehand to right now, you can actually see the impact that the recent flash flooding has had in SoCal. And this was just at the start of the flash flooding. You can actually see some washed out section coming in. A place where we were, about half of it was gone and washed away and now covered with water because of all the extra water in the Colorado River. And in fact, the currents were pretty strong. We had a hard time sitting in the water because the currents were so strong. The temperatures were perfect and we sat there for hours. It was awesome. Definitely a trip I want to redo again. Another reason we stayed extra was because of the drive back. The drive back is west, and driving back in the afternoon, you're driving straight into the sun. The first time we tried this run and we did it in the afternoon, we were driving straight into the sun, and with the dust and everything, the pace was slow. We just couldn't see anything. We stayed a little bit extra so you could drive back at night. It was actually fun driving that road at night. It's a lot of fun if you have the right lights. On the way back, we did stop quite a few times so that we can have a little better visibility and all that stuff. But towards the end of the day, we got a nice, beautiful little show. I mean, just the Mojave never disappoints with sunsets, and it was beautiful out there. Because of the flash flooding, there was a lot of mud around the trails, so that meant that when we got home, we needed to clean it. This truck has a steel cab. Can't let that sit because it'll create rust, so we had to clean it. Trails are clay and mud, and it's very corrosive if you don't do something about it, so we had to get it up. Usually when I do my cleanings, I try to get the truck up as high as possible using some ram, and then using our trusty Giraffe Tools pressure washer, we try to get as much as we can underneath. We'd even get down on the ground so that we can see as much as we can into that belly and identify where the mud is and get it all out of there so that it doesn't cause any rust. Make sure you guys do the same too. If you guys get mud, you get under the steps and all that stuff, get under the body, get under the cab, everywhere you can. Try to get rid of that mud. Just my luck, we found another puncture in that same boot. Looks like the boot that we got from H&M was a little bit worn out, and another hole. It happened in the middle of the trail, so we decided that it was time to go ahead and start getting that repaired and getting that out, because by this point, my SDHQ replacement boot for the Gen 1s had already come in, so we wanted to get a proper boot in there. And removing CV boots sucks. They never come out as easy as they're supposed to. This one, we ended up prying it out, and it finally came out, but we were struggling with it for a little bit. All right, guys, so that's it for this video. If you guys want to join us, make sure you guys subscribe to our Instagram. We put all the notices there on Wednesdays for the day runs. Also, stay tuned for next week's video. We did the Vegas to Reno race. There's some cool stuff there that we got to show you guys. We got the truck probably the dirtiest she's ever been. So we got some cool clips to show you guys there. Any questions, comments below, please consider subscribing. Thank you for watching.